In this episode, I'm tying up some loose ends with the GT3-Killer Z06, and instead of taking it out on the road course, I'm driving in an autocross competition because you guys warned me about an issue that could blow the motor. But despite being careful,
slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Something goes wrong anyway.
That doesn't sound good.
Today I'm taking my C6 Z06 out to an autocross competition for the first time, and I have a long to-do list with less than 8 hours to knock everything out. Also, I want to thank you guys, because if it weren't for the warnings in your comments, there's a good chance I would have taken this car out on track today and done serious damage to the motor. I'll get into the details in a little bit, but right now I need to hustle because I don't know how long some of these things are going to take, and historically things go wrong whenever I work on this car, but especially if I'm on a deadline. By the way, if you're new to the channel, Goldie here is a 2007 Corvette Z06. I bought the car completely stock, and my goal is to be able to beat a 911 GT3 at the racetrack, and as a beginner DIY mechanic, I want to find out what it's going to take. And of course, true to form, the battery seems to be completely dead, even though I had it on a tender until maybe a couple of days ago. It would probably be faster to jump start it, but I'm going to try this. All right, hopefully we have enough juice to open this door. Nope. We've got this little pull to get the driver door open. Yeah. Okay. The problem that I had when I tried to install the passenger seat is that I discovered this. This is the OnStar control module, and GM only located it here in I think 2007 and 2008, and only for the Z06 for some reason. Later years they moved it up under the dash so it was out of the way. The problem is not that this box gets in the way of the seat. The aftermarket seat will fit with this box in place. The problem is all of this wiring that goes to the box. If you look underneath here, it's a really thick bundle of wires, and it means that my seat mount bracket can't go flush against the floor as much as it needs to in order for it to fit. So I think what I need to do is to relocate these wires elsewhere. And from what I've been reading, you can put a jumper into one of these things and basically be able to run without this box at all. The problem is if you don't do the jumper right, then the car literally won't start. Yeah. All right, those are easy. This one doesn't just pull off. Oh. That doesn't really help. Yeah, there's no obvious way to remove this from the floor unless it's like glued on. Is it glued on? It probably is. Oh, of course. How did I not realize that that was the way that that worked? Yeah. Ooh. Don't want to break it. Cool. Well, that's easily a couple of pounds of weight savings, which is nice. But the more important thing is that now I should be able to get this wiring out of the way. Here. Okay. Eventually I would like to get that stuff like tucked up under the dash, but for now we're not going to worry about that. What we are going to worry about is, I believe that if this isn't plugged in, the car is not going to start at all. And there's only 4 wires going in here, and my understanding is that we need to put a jumper in to jump these two and these two. And the internet suggests what they call the paperclip method, which has to be legit, so I'm going to try that. Okay, I think I've got everything ready to go, but before I put the passenger seat in, I want to make sure that the car will start. Unfortunately, I think the battery is probably still a little bit too low, so I think I'm going to have to jump start the car. But we'll test it and see. No fobs detected. Well, there's a fob in my pocket, so should I try a different fob? Was that the problem all along? Okay, we got to jump start it. All right, now she's showing signs of life. Now the thing that I wanted to work on first was something I didn't tell you guys about. Last time I had it out at the track, everything was fine. And then when I went to drive home, when I started the car to leave, I gotta check engine light. Not enough juice to start still, really? All right, we'll give it a couple minutes. Not seeming to make any effort to start, and that could be that my jumpers are not effective, or it could be that the battery's dead, and we have spent about an hour so far. Service fuel system, just service everything apparently. Is the fuel low? Hatch ajar, well that's accurate. Frustration would be kicking in, but I expected this kind of stuff to happen. I'm gonna give it a few minutes to charge and then we'll try it again. And if it doesn't work, then I'm gonna try taking those jumpers out and plugging that box back in, the OnStar box, and see if that fixes it. While I'm waiting for it to charge, I realize this is the antenna for the OnStar, and I don't need this either. So I'm gonna see if I can get it off. Yeah. Oops. There we go. More weight savings. See if that's going to work. Please work. Nice. There's our jumper solution. Car's running okay, but what is that check engine light about? Let's find out. All right, I got my OBD reader. Let's see if we can figure out what's up. There it is. P0171. So let's clear the code. It is gone from the dash and we'll see if it comes back. I don't remember for sure, but when I first bought this car and took it on a rally, I'm pretty sure that after we did the tunnel runs where I was running it pretty hard, it threw the same kind of code under the same kind of conditions. I want to say it was a lean condition maybe. The internet says it could be a MAF sensor, it could be a vacuum leak, it could be something to do with fuel injectors or fuel pump. The conditions were that I drove the car hard on track, shut it off for a little while, and when I started it again, it immediately threw the light. That's pretty much what happened on the rally. I drove the car hard in that tunnel, and then afterwards I turned it off for a bit, turned it back on, it threw the light. We cleared the code and it didn't come back. I'm going to choose not to be worried about it. If you know more about it than I do, please leave a comment. But for now, we're going to move on and work on getting the passenger seat installed. First, I just want to see if the seat is going to fit and kind of rest in a way that we're going to be able to fasten it in. Yeah, with the washers, that's going to work. Sad to lose the OnStar though. All right, we need to mount our sub belt straps like so. Yeah, that's not bad. Well, the door closed. Room to spare. I hurt myself. Oops. Lap belts should go in pretty easy. We just clip it in, feed it through the lap belt opening. All right, that's clipped. Just need to get the shoulder belts. One tip when you're using a 6-point harness, you want to get your hips, your lap snug before you tighten the shoulders. All right, the passenger seat is installed, feels good. It's nice to have a matching set now, and the harnesses are installed and adjusted. So it's time to move on, and I've still got a few hours to knock out the rest of my list. Much faster to get out of one of these things than it is to get in. All right, the last big item on my to-do list today is the brakes. This has been a long time coming, and I'm not going to bore you with the whole story, but I had a lot of problems when I first bought the car with vibration under braking when the brakes were hot. Tried to sort that out with pads and rotors, and then I bought a used AP Racing brake kit from a guy on the Corvette forum, claimed to be a legitimate kit. It turns out it wasn't. I spent almost $4,000, and the only thing that was authentic AP Racing out of that kit were the calipers. Luckily, Essex, who are the North American distributor of AP Racing brakes, came to my rescue after they watched one of my videos, and they sorted me out with a complete, authentic AP Racing by Essex front brake kit for this car. I am really excited to finally get it on, and hopefully this is going to be the last time I touch the brakes for a long time. They have a C5 and C6 Corvette specific set of instructions for installation. Wash the discs with soap and water. I already know how to do basically all this stuff, and this includes torque specs, so I'm gonna get started. But first, actually, I've got something I need to do on the rear. Last time I bled these brakes, this one appeared to be stripped. And I could not, yeah, it's like stripped and I couldn't loosen it. So I bought a new one. I actually bought 4 new ones. These things are $13 a piece for replacement bleed screws. So let's see if I can get this thing off. Why is it on there so tight? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that did it. Put a little cap on. The rear pads have tons of life left. We haven't really turned very many laps on them yet. Let's get these stock brakes off. Okay. It's off, covered in brake fluid. What more did you expect? Let's take a look at these pads. My buddy Trent loaned me these, or gave me these, as his takeoffs, and there's only about 1/8 of an inch of pad material left on them. Well, there's the AP rotor side by side with the factory rotor, and here's the AP caliper. Gonna need to mount this to a bracket. Gonna put a drop of Loctite on this. They want this tightened to 105 foot-pounds. There we go. There we go. And they want 40 foot-pounds for these. Our next step is going to be to put the pads in. Our last step here is to reinstall the brake line, and I am going to use a fresh bolt and crush washers. And there's a torque spec for that as well. Go lock to lock on the steering and just make sure you don't get any interference at any point. Still some slack in the line that way. Still got clearance, nothing is touching, plenty of slack. So we're good on the brake line. Driver's side install is done, it looks good. I'm just gonna repeat the process on the passenger side. I just want to take another opportunity to give a big thank you to Jeff Ritter and the team at Essex who helped me out. I appreciate it so much. Now that I've got the real kit, the quality is just so obvious. And if you watched the last video, the point that I really tried to drive home is it's not just the parts you choose to buy, it's who you decide to buy them from. And when you buy directly from Essex or one of their authorized retailers, you know you're going to get that factory support. And if you read the comments on that video, so many people can testify Essex is the best in the business and they offer amazing support. I can't thank them enough. Well, as you can see, these things look great and unbelievably they spin freely without touching anything. That's a big improvement over last time. It is a huge milestone for this project to have these brakes properly installed. So it's time to bleed the fluid, and then we've got one more small task. Very bold of me to do that with no paper towel handy. There we go. How is brake fluid getting everywhere? Is it squirting? How is it squirting? I bled the brakes one more time, got a few more bubbles out, so I think we're good to go. When I test drive it, if the pedal is a little bit spongy, then we'll know I need to do it again. So all that remains is to put the wheels back on, but I do not want to cover up these beautiful brakes with chrome stock wheels. If you've been watching the channel, you know, but if you're new, these are factory size Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires on factory wheels, although these are a newer factory wheel than came on the car, I believe. I think these wheels came out in like 2009. These are Apex forged EC7 RS wheels with Nankang AR1 tires. We're running 335s in the rear and 315s in the front. compared to 275s in the front from the factory. And so just look at when you've got two of those tires stacked up, how much more front end rubber you've got with the 315s. Of course, these Nankangs are really a track focused tire. They're not really meant to be driven on the street, although they are street legal. The Michelins are a fantastic street tire that can do some track duty, but they get really slippery when they start to get hot. So I'm hoping that these Nankangs are going to really perform when we go out on the track. Also, they just look super mean. I can't wait to get them back on the car, and I suspect that the chromies are not going back on anytime soon. Okay. All right, the last little bit is we need to marry the TPMS sensors to the car, and I've got this little tool to do it, but it's kind of a tricky process. Let's see if I remember how to do it. Ugh. Okay, accessory mode on. Now I hold down lock and unlock. One. Okay, it beeped. Oh God, you gotta do this part quickly. Put the tool right by the sensor on the tire, like so. And when it honks, it's ready for the next one. Go around the car clockwise. All right, we got them. Now let's see if she's still got enough juice to start up. Yes. Okay, I've still got about an hour and a half. I'm gonna take it and fuel it up, and then there's one more thing that I wanna do before I can get ready to head to the autocross event. Okay, overall the car felt good. The brake pedal was very, very spongy. There's no springs or clips holding the pads in place and the calipers, and so you get some noise when you engage the brakes. It kind of knocks around a little bit. I think that's normal, I'm not certain. Starting to get a little bit of pad material onto the rotor, but not much. But the pedal was super spongy, so I definitely need to bleed it again. And then there's another reason why I want to get it up on the lift. Oh, f me. Of course, the brakes are still hot too. Okay, that feels a lot better. It didn't seem like that many bubbles came out. Definitely bubbles did come out, but hopefully that was it. So I think we're good on bleeding. One more thing to do. I want to know how much Goldie weighs. Back when she was completely stock with a full tank of fuel, I weighed her at 3,183 pounds. We've done seats, wheels and tires, brakes, maybe a couple other odds and ends. I know we added the harness bar, which is going to add some weight, so I want to see where we stand. What have we got? 3,157 pounds. I wonder if I left anything in the car. I probably did. Yeah, there's a few odds and ends in there. Let's make sure there's nothing heavy. We got some, and yeah, okay, let's take this stuff out. That's not fair. That's not fair to the car. Sorry, Goldie. Now, 3,145 pounds. So we're down over 60 total, but we added about 20 back with that harness bar. So we are currently down about 40 pounds, and most of that is unsprung mass from the wheels and the brakes. Although I think a lot of it comes from the seats. I'm happy with that. 3,145. Cross weight 47.7%. That's pretty good. And we've got almost perfect 50-50 front rear bias. Of course, driver's not in it. I need to be getting ready to go at 4, so I cut a little bit close, but pretty happy with that. Okay, I wanted to touch on the thing that I said where you guys saved me with your comments from blowing up my motor. Basically, I was not aware that the 07 and 08 cars had reduced oil capacity in the dry sump, and that was attributed to what some people found was oil pressure drops and therefore oil starvation when sustaining high Gs along long sweeping left-hand corners. Now, Atlanta Motorsports Park, where I go to the track often, has a really long sweeping left-hand section. Not a big deal when I was on street tires, but now that I'm on the race compounds, there's a strong likelihood that if I had done what I was originally planning to do, which is to go to the track and go as fast as I could with the new tires and brakes, that I would have sustained over 1G for longer than 4 or 5 seconds, caused oil starvation, and potentially catastrophically damaged the motor. So again, big thank you to you guys for sharing in the comments. I definitely don't know everything there is to know about these cars. I'm learning all the time, and I think you guys saved my bacon. We're here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Tonight is a member social, and part of that is that they've got an autocross. So a bunch of members are out in all kinds of different cars. There's no classing or anything. And we're trying to see who can set the best time on the autocross course. It's 5:45 now, and I think the event runs until 7:30, and it's whoever can put in the fastest time before 7:30. So theoretically, I can get a bunch of runs in. I'm actually kind of nervous, which is pretty dumb.
And with that sound, you know the autocross is open on the south paddock.
All right, I believe it's my duty as an amateur race car driver to establish a couple of excuses. First of all, I have not driven a lot of autocross in my day, and this course is new to me. So this first round was just me kind of figuring out the line and trying to get a feel for the car, because I've never driven it hard in this configuration at all. Very tight and twisty. Autocross rewards agility for sure, grip, and braking. You need to brake before you get to that last set of cones, otherwise your time gets invalidated.
Need a soothing mint. Hi, Josh.
While I was waiting in line, I had time to think of a couple of more excuses. These tires and brakes are really meant for the road course, and so they can handle a ton of heat, but in order to give you optimal grip and optimal stopping power, they really need to be up to temperature. But the nature of autocross is that you don't have heat in your tires or your brakes, and so this setup isn't really the best for running autocross. That said, I did manage to shave about a second off of my first run.
That felt better. A little gentler on the inputs. Sometimes it's feeling a little ham-fisted.
Well, I didn't go any faster on this one, and I couldn't think of any more excuses, but I did run over a cone, and come to think of it, I don't know if that cone ever came out from under the car.
That felt good. There was a cone on the course. Nicole!
It was higher. It was
26.6. What?
And the Miata was 25.5.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay. Okay.
Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. All right, one last excuse. The timing and scoring equipment stopped timing my runs, and so I did like 4 more and none of them got a time. I'm not sure why. And so the stopwatch you're seeing is just me trying to guess at what it is. So obviously we can't take these times to the bank, but I'm pretty sure I had a couple of good ones in there. Unfortunately, they were not officially recorded.
I don't want to say that that one felt better, because it did, but last time it felt better and it wasn't any faster, so. You're in the video, Bruce. Oh no. Oh. What's that?
How's it doing in autocross?
Not as fast as I want to be, but it's hard to tell how much is me versus the car.
Yeah.
These are maybe not like perfectly suited for autocross, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I guess that's the important thing,
that's
but
what matters.
winning is also kind of important.
Yeah, winning is part of the fun anyways.
Exactly. No time for that one. I think I got 2 or 3 more in me, tops. Autocross is great for a lot of reasons, but one thing that's not fun is that you wait in line before every run. So it's like 15 minutes of waiting and then 30 seconds of driving.
Bogged it. That one felt okay, although I bogged on the start. No time?
I don't want to perseverate too much because it's just a friendly competition, but not knowing your time makes it really hard to know if you're doing any better or not. So I really felt like I was driving blind. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but I got off to a really good start on this one. And then I hit another cone. Also, remember that at the very end, if you go past that second set of cones before you stop, your time is disqualified.
A lot of excitement on the autocross track. Blew the cones at the end. Damn it. Alright, I'm getting hungry. This is the last one. Oops.
All right, pay close attention to how the car sounds during this run.
That doesn't sound good. It was pulling power on me.
Well, I'm not sure what's going on with the car. It was sounding really strange. It felt like it was pulling power. And when I shut it off and turned it back on to drive it home, it threw a check engine light, but it drove fine on the way home. So I'm gonna have to investigate that. By the way, my unofficial time of a 25.5 would have gotten me on the podium if it had counted, but it didn't. I still had a really fun time doing autocross. And coincidentally, I ran into a guy named Joel who runs a 2007 Corvette Z06. He's got some power adders on the car. He's running Nankang AR1s. He's been doing a lot of laps in it and no signs of oil starvation. So I'm not sure what to make of that, but I do think that I need to focus on reliability next. There's a lot more to do with the car. Thank you guys so much for coming along for the ride. We'll see you next time.